I'm not good enough to do video. I'm not pretty enough to do video. Nobody wants to hear from me. These are the kinds of things I hear all the time. And hands up, if maybe you've heard them yourself, maybe you tell yourself these things in your own head. Well, guess what? Your brain is betraying you. And today we're going to find out how you can reprogram it and get past that negative self talk. Welcome to Show Up and Be Seen. I'm Valerie McTavish, here with insights and inspirations to help you get more visible so that you can increase your impact and grow your business. I'm so excited that Nathalie is joining us on the show today because she is a confidence expert as well as having a background in neuroscience. And so we're gonna nerd out a little bit today. Welcome, Nathalie. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much, Valerie, for having me. It's an honor to be on your show. You have been presenting to a session that I was participating in, and I've learned so much from you. So it's an honor to be your guest today. Thank you.
Yeah, our paths crossed in a very serendipitous way, and our messaging is very similar. But the difference is you've got this whole background in neuroscience. But before we get to that, I want to know about you and your journey. So, did you struggle with visibility? Did you struggle with that negative self talk in terms of putting yourself out there for your business?
Oh my gosh. I remember when I was at the beginning of building my speaking business, I needed a video done. So we had three cameras, like one for the wide angle, one for the close up, and one from the back to see the large audience. But the problem was, Valerie, there was only 20 people in the room. So we kept asking people to move from one section to another so that when we would put the segments together, it would look like there was a large audience. And I was freaking out. And I remember the negative talk in my head telling me that I wasn't good enough. And I remember my first paid speaking engagement coming from this video, a Salesforce wanting to, an organization wanting me to train their Salesforce, and they asked for my rate. I didn't have a corporate rate, so I go 250. So then they say, okay, so for the 4 hour training, there would be 1,000. I almost choke because I meant 250 for the whole thing, right? So I go, yes, that's correct. And when I hung up the phone, I got the contract. And I should have been excited, but I felt like a fraud. See, the video I had made, making the audience look bigger than it really was, and my made up corporate rate, none of it was real. I was just trying to look more than I really was because the voice in my head was telling me, you're not a real professional speaker. You don't deserve $1,000 paycheck for an afternoon. See, I when I hung up the phone, I realized I need to figure out how to shut down that negative self-talk in my head because it's not serving me. So that's why I spent the last decade studying neuroscience to create a system so that we can turn off that negative self-talk. And that's the system I shared in my 8 international #1 best-selling books. And that's a system that's at the base of all my online courses. And that's what I talk about when I do my speaking engagements and all my blogs and videos now.
I love it. I love it. Now, what's so interesting to me is there's two things coming up here that we hear so often, and that is the negative self talk, and it fuels the imposter syndrome,
Oh,
right? And then the imposter syndrome fuels the negative self talk, and it's this vicious cycle
yeah.
that's so hard to get out of. But you clearly got out of it. I mean, it can't just be that you're like, fake it till you make it. What did you do to actually get over all of that negative self-talk? How did you get confident enough to like demand your rate?
So the very first part is to understand how the brain works, and we'll do that in a very short version. There's so many parts of the brain that I'm fascinated about. We could spend a whole show on the prefrontal cortex on how to manage our emotions and everything. But today, I maybe let's bring up the logical mind and the unconscious mind. So the logical mind can handle 5 to 9 pieces of information at a time. That's cool. You can multitask. You can grocery shop at the same time that you're on a phone meeting and still keep your kid from falling off the cart and notice the guy at the back of the store winking at the girl in blue in the seafood department. Like you can do all that at the same time. But have you ever noticed, let's say you're driving to a new address, you're in your car, music is on, windows are down, it's a beautiful day, and then you get closer to the address and you start looking at the numbers on the houses. Have you ever caught yourself, Valerie, having to lower the volume on the radio? Isn't that weird? Right? Right? So when so this logical mind using 5 to 9 pieces of information at a time is not that much after all, because you have your foot on the brake and foot on the accelerator, the red light ahead, the kid that's about to cross the street, the lady that will probably cut you off, and then there's this dude in the car next to you winking at you. Gross. So as you add looking at the numbers on the houses, the music becomes the one too many. So 5 to 9 is not that great after all. Living at a logical level is the reason why we are listening to this negative self-talk all the time, because we are stuck. You're trying to get to your goal. Like we're entrepreneurs, we're business people, and people working in businesses, we're driven. Like we want to reach our goal, so we get up early. You start working at 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. You accept clients all the time. You still have to take your kids to school and sport in between your meetings, and then you have no life. You have no balance because you're constantly working. You still live paycheck to paycheck, and you feel like you're getting further and further away from your dream life. It's like you're trying to go to Halifax, but you're in an aircraft that's flying to Vancouver. Or you're trying to go to Los Angeles, but you're in an aircraft that's flying to New York City. It's never going to work if you stay in that aircraft. So people ask me all the time exactly what you just asked. How do you get off that plane? And I say, no, stay in the plane. Talk to the pilot and say, hey, bud, do you mind turning around? That's where I'm going. So you will get there so much faster if you talk to the pilot. That pilot is like that personal assistant in your head, writing down everything you say or think. That's your unconscious mind. The unconscious mind can handle 2.3 million pieces of information every second. 5 to 9 for the logical mind, 2.3 million for the unconscious. That's where the power is, right? So that personal assistant is constantly listening to everything we say or think. But the problem is, people wake up in the morning, they look at themselves in the mirror and they go, I'm so tired. I'm so stressed out. I think I'm gaining weight. So then your personal assistant writes it down. Tired, stressed out, gaining weight, got this. Okay, tired. What can I do for this? Oh, no, I'm going to keep her awake all night. She's not going to be able to sleep. She's going to be really tired in the morning. Check. Stressed out. Oh, I'm going to make her delete a very important appointment in her calendar. Oh, that's going to be stressful. Check. Gaining weight, easy. I can find a chocolate bar, something deep fried for her to eat today. Check. So your personal assistant is constantly listening to what you say. So my answer to your question now is you have to tell your personal assistant what you want, not what you don't want.
Okay, so your personal assistant that lives in your brain
Yes.
lives both on the logic side and the conscious and the unconscious side, right?
The personal assistant
Otherwise,
listens to
how do
everything.
you get the message through?
It listens to everything. The personal
Okay.
assistant knows and hears everything and hears your feelings as well. So if people are looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, I am rich, but they're feeling, no, we're not, then the personal assistant gets all that as well, right?
Okay, so how do you get past that? It's not just a matter of saying the opposite, making sure
Exactly.
that you're giving that person the affirmations.
Yes,
So,
affirmation, I have to say, they're so popular, and I'm so sorry to say this, but affirmations don't work if you don't believe them. So when I work with the Think Yourself Thin program, that with people that are highly overweight, it's not like I'm just, okay, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am thin. Or with people that the Think Yourself Wealthy program, people are highly in deep financial struggles. I'm not going to say, put your hands on your hips and repeat, I am rich. Because the personal assistant's like, no, we're not. What is she? No, we must be watching a vampire movie. Vampires don't exist. I'm not listening to this. But if you say, and I'm going to give you a 2-step technique. That's how you do affirmations for them to work. So the first step is you hear something in your head. Okay, so you hear yourself say, I'm so bad with names, right? Because there are a lot of people say that. And then you're like, oh no, I just told my personal assistant I wanted to be bad with names. So are you going to say, I'm good with names? No, your personal assistant is going to be like, no, you're not. Like, disconnect. So you have step number 1, you have to repeat what you just heard in the past. I used to. So step number 1, I used to be bad with names. Or I'm so stressed out. I used to be stressed out all the time. Right? So your personal assistant hears that. Oh yeah, stressed out. I have that on my list right here. You're talking to me. Yeah. Why are you talking about this in the past? Are we done with this? Ha ha. Immediately follow with step number 2. The step number 2 is a progressive statement. It starts with I am willing to learn, or I'm in the process of. Okay. I used to be bad with names. Step number 1. I'm willing to learn people's name. I'm in the process of trying to remember them. Or I used to be stressed out all the time. Now I'm willing to learn how to feel calmer in my life, how to create a balanced life. I'm in the process of fixing it, of changing that. So now your personal assistant is going to write down the right thing on your list. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something that you can just switch off. You can't fool your personal assistant. You can't fool your unconscious mind. You have to transition it.
Yeah,
Is that right?
exactly. Now, um, we talked about the aircraft analogy. So if I want the aircraft to change in real life, I push a button and change the address on the GPS. You know what I mean? Like we have GPS in our cars, and it's very easy. To do this for our mind is a little bit more complex. That's what I do. Like I work with my clients with specific processes and technique and protocols, like the RTM protocol to remove PTSD and disconnect emotional from a behavior or from an experience. Like it's deep stuff. You can't really do this by yourself at a logical level. The two-step technique is a great way for you to start that process, and you can start right away changing this. Sometimes um, maybe another analogy is you have a cavity and you're going to start brushing your teeth really, really well over top of it and flossing, mouthwash, everything. Well, it's not going to get rid of the cavity. It's going to keep you from getting more cavity. But if you have an old cavity there, you need a dentist. And they have special tools and they're going to fix it. And then you're going to continue to brush your teeth really, really well and floss so that you don't have any more cavities. So you want to get rid of that old stuff that you might be carrying with you that's not serving you. You don't have to have been in a house on fire in order to have some stuff that we all experience anger, fear, hurt, sadness, guilt, trauma, bad habits. It just happens to everybody. Like, have you ever told somebody, what, you go to the dentist? Gross. No, everybody goes to the dentist. It's the same for our brain. We all have stuff that we need to remove. It's totally normal.
And so I'm thinking about this analogy of yours of turning the plane around and using that two-step process. And I think it makes sense that, in order for us to reverse course, in order for us to retrain our brain away from this negative self-talk, it might take a little bit longer to retrain the brain, if we've been believing it for a really long time. So those things that maybe we heard as kids might take an even longer time versus something that maybe we just started telling ourselves recently, like, I have too many wrinkles or something like that, might be easier to reverse. So the further your plane has traveled in the wrong direction, the longer it might take for it to turn around. Does that make sense?
I would like to, I would, I'm hearing the statement, and your statement makes sense. However, it's not true in my office because I don't see people for a year. It's pretty transformational because some of these processes, like working with army veteran that have seen nightmares and that have still the nightmares in their everyday life and flashbacks. There's an 89 step process. We do it for 4 days in a row and it's over, proven by science. And 2 years later, the nightmares are not back. So it is quite powerful, the stuff that we do, I have to say, with neuroscience, when you know what you're doing. So I have to say, let's say you go to the doctor, your foot's broken, and you leave the office and the doctor says, how's your foot? You say, wow, thanks, doctor, you fixed my foot. When people leave my office and I ask them, how's your foot? They say, what foot? I'm fine. Because you don't remember how you used to feel because the emotional connection is disconnected, and people laugh at themselves. They say, what? Because I take notes and I say, you said this an hour ago. And they're like, I'm laughing at it now. Really? I was saying that about myself? Gosh. Okay. I guess I was totally wrong. Right. So it's pretty impressive what the brain can do, and to trust that your brain, what people are after is emotions, feeling better. A feeling is much easier than we think to change. You can change how you feel right now. You could totally change the rest of your day. You're listening to this right now. You have a choice. you can control, right? And there's lots of people think that it takes years and years and years to change. We can choose to believe that. That would not be serving us.
We're telling our personal assistant that it takes that long, maybe.
Exactly. Yes.
So the thing I wanna sort of bring up is that there are maybe different levels of issues, in terms of the neuroscience and what you're
Agree.
talking about, a very in-depth process dealing with people with PTSD. I mean, that is something that you're an expert in. It's what you do. But for someone who is feeling hesitant about getting on camera, is feeling hesitant about putting themselves out there and dealing with these negative self-talk, and the negative self-talk is, causing some procrastination, and they're putting it
Yes.
off, and they're multitasking other things first. They're turning When it comes to turning the radio down, they're turning down that want to do video.
Yeah.
So in that case, is the two-step process going to be something that's going to at least get them closer to being able to empower themselves to do it?
100%, 100%. They can do it right away and just say, I used to not be good on camera. I'm willing to learn how to get good at it. And one thing you can do is, because we think we're not good with technology, but we all have one of these, right? Dopamine spiking device. Everybody's got one of those, right? And we went from flip phones to no screen. Like, I remember in between the flip phone, I had a Blackberry with a keyboard. And then I had no more keyboard. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And every time they do an update on our phone, then all of a sudden you can't find the pictures of your dog wearing a bikini. You can't find anything on your phone. You have to relearn all the time. We are good with technology. We are. And we are a lot more comfortable than we think in front of a camera. We just have to use Valerie's technique, because she's got tons of them, in order to feel that confidence and feel that your message matters a lot more than what you look like, and driving yourself with purpose. And if it's just a skill, maybe you just need a coach, maybe you just need to work with Valerie. That's all you need, right? Maybe you just need a belief. Maybe it's the belief that is holding you back. Maybe it's the identity, the I am bad on camera. Change that. And maybe it's further than that. It's the why, it's your purpose. Why are you doing these videos after all? What you have to say more likely will change the world, will transform somebody's life. Think about one person that you've helped because of that message. Think about this thing you're about to say, and you've helped that one person. Are you going to deprive the world to hearing this message just because, oh, I'm shy on camera, right? Like, it's your duty to share this message. So don't let these limiting beliefs holding the world back from what you have to offer. It is not serving everybody around you. So who else other than you are you serving with this message? It has to be heard, and it has to be by you, and by you at your best. So go for it, and then work with Valerie. She's going to teach you how to the skills. Maybe it's just the skills that you need more. If it's the confidence, I'm your girl. And I think Valerie teaches confidence as well. So guess what? You've got all the tools that you need, but don't deprive the world from what you have to say.
I am smiling like an idiot because everything you're saying is everything that I share and everything that I talk about. And I'm so glad that we're on the same page. And I hope that everyone who's watching is feeling that energy of us just sort of saying, it's time. It's time to get out of your own way. And there are tools that you can use to get there. Nathalie, I can't thank you enough for sharing your wisdom with us and helping us understand what's going on in our brain so that we can actually reprogram it a little bit and take that next step, which is so important. I want everyone to know that I'm going to be sharing Nathalie's contact information. If you feel like you need that deeper dive, if you feel like you want to tap into what Nathalie's offering with her Think Yourself programs, I will put the link in the description so that you can click through and connect with Nathalie, and make a total change in your life, a huge change in your life. If that's what you're after, that's what Nathalie can do for you. So, Nathalie, thanks again for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to connecting with you again very soon.
Thank you so much, Valerie.
Remember, you got into business to help people solve a problem, and you cannot do that if you stay hidden. So show up for them, show up for your business, and show up for yourself. We'll see you next time.